Hey everyone, it's Bailey. Welcome back to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Today's video is going to be a follow-up to a recent full day wear test I did using only Flower Beauty products. It was like a really long video, but we went through a ton of products that I picked up recently from the Flower Beauty website. But in that video, there were a few things I was uncertain on just because I hadn't had enough time to try them out or because I wasn't able to try them out at all because I got like 3 different brow products. You know, I just needed a little bit more time. So this video is going to be talking about the top 5 products that I have from that bunch and the bottom 5, the stuff that after some testing I definitively would not recommend to anyone because it just did not work out for me. Pretty straightforward. I think we all know how these videos work, so let's go ahead and dive in. First, let's just go ahead and get the bottom 5 out of the way. The first product I'm going to talk about is one that I hadn't had a chance to try yet in that first video. It's the Eyes on the Prize Eyeshadow Chubby Sticks. I picked up the shade Rose Gold Dust, and I had such high hopes for this because more affordable and drugstore brands are getting super good at their eyeshadow sticks, which I am personally a fan of. I love a good eyeshadow stick. I actually have a roundup video here on the channel of my top favorite that are out there. Probably needs to be updated because it's a couple years old at this point, but love eyeshadow sticks because they can be super easy one and done products. You just sweep them across your lid, maybe blend them out a little bit, and you're good to go throughout the day. Just love them. This did not work out so much for me. First of all, the pigmentation is like non-existent. For something called rose gold whatever, I kind of thought it was going to be a little bit more shiny or a little bit more pigmented, just a little bit more stand out on the lid, and it really isn't. Like, even after warming it up on the back of my hand and using my finger, I've tried using it every which way, and bottom line is there just isn't a whole lot of pigment coming out of this thing, which if you want a very subtle eye look, you know, it's not a big deal, but this is almost the shade of my skin tone, so it's like, it's non-existent basically on me. And then even when it is on, it has this kind of drier texture. It just lacks the creaminess that I like an eyeshadow, a stick eyeshadow to have. It has this drier texture that makes it kind of a challenge to blend out, and yet it doesn't last like I would expect a cream to powder product to last. So all in all, yeah, this is just definitely not something that I will continue to reach for, and so I wouldn't recommend it to you guys. The other product that I had some more time to test and kind of come to the conclusion that it's not a favorite is the eye primer. It's the In Your Prime Ultimate Eye Primer, and I had tested it in conjunction with an eyeshadow palette from Flower, and a lot of you guys have suggested that I try different combinations of the primer with other shadows, the shadows with a different primer out to understand which it is exactly wasn't performing. For me, it's the primer. This just did not prevent my eyeshadow from fading or creasing throughout the day. Granted, they were over the course of long days. It's super hot here down in Texas, so it's not like I didn't put it through some difficult challenges, but I do have other eyeshadow primers, some of which are even drugstore eyeshadow primers that can withstand that test, and so for that, I just wouldn't recommend this. And these last 3 things are products that carried over from that other video, so I'm just gonna go ahead and breeze on through them. First of which is the powder. This is the mattifying powder, and I do wish I had tried the illuminating powder. I forget what the full name is, but this is called the Miracle Matte Translucent Finishing Powder. This, although it's super finely milled and it's like feels undetectable when you first apply it, and it like smooths your skin out so beautifully, over the course of a day, it made my under eyes look so dry and crepey looking, and it just did not play well with the products that I had laying underneath. And I have combination skin, so it's not typically a challenge that I have with mattifying powders. Normally, it's that the powder can't mattify enough for my skin throughout the day, and this just, you know, certainly not right for my under eye area anyway, and I still experienced breakup around my chin area with this foundation even when using this. So just not something that I would recommend from the collection. Then there is the mascara. This is something that I loved way back in the day, but something about the formula here just isn't working for me now. It's a little bit drier. Maybe I've come to like a more wet formula recently, but it's a little bit drier, and so I'm not getting the differences in the wand that I think you're supposed to get. For those of you who might not know, didn't see the other video, the premise behind this wand is that you basically can twist the bottom here, and it twists the shape of the wand. So it's like, it can either be totally straight for lengthening, you give it one little click and it becomes a little bit more curved, you give it another little click and it's like super duper curved for, I believe that's volume. And I just think there's something a little bit different with the formula here that didn't give me the kinds of results that I had initially liked about this mascara. And now the last pick in my bottom 5, it's the liquid eyeliner, and nothing bad about the formula itself, it's just the applicator. The formula itself was very, I mean, it was pretty good. good. It lasted, you know, it didn't fade or crease or flake or anything like that. It really just, to me, came down to the applicator. I'm not a fan of felt tips. For me, can be tricky from the start, but this one in particular just isn't fine enough to guarantee that I can get an ultra precise, really sleek looking wing. It's just a little too thick. It captures a little bit too much product on it, and I just found myself having to work a lot with it to go in and apply it, as opposed to something like a calligraphy tip liner that I really like. It just flows freely and smoothly from the tip to get you that ultra precise inky black line across the lid. This just took more working with, and so when it comes down to it, if the formulas are the same, I'm gonna go with a product where the applicator's better, you know? Alrighty, now let's talk about the top 5, first of which I am so excited to include in here, and I was a little nervous I wouldn't get to. It's the foundation, the Light Illusion Luminous Makeup All Day Wear Foundation. I had some serious issues with this during my actually the first few times I wore this. In that all day wear test, it got super patchy in my chin area, just kind of broke apart. I wasn't sure what was up with it, but I was so sad because when I first applied this, and I mean still to this day, cannot get over the level of coverage you get with this and how luminous and dewy it keeps you looking. And I think that's what keeps it feeling very natural and healthy, natural skin looking. That statement made no sense. Get it together. I think the fact that it gives your skin that illuminated look also means that it takes the full coverage that it provides and makes it that much more natural looking. Does that make sense? Here's hoping. Anywho, tried again a couple times with this thing, and what I found out is that I wear in my skincare routine, I do apply an oil from Drunk Elephant, and across most other foundations I wear, because otherwise I tend to prefer kind of a mattifying foundation that I go and then get my glow on from a highlighter. So I never really thought twice about applying that oil, but with this, it's so hydrating. There's just so much hydration built into this formula. I cannot wear that oil anymore. So from my skincare routine, I just go for my vitamin C straight to my SPF before I go in and apply this. Works and wears like a dream. I love it. I just stinking love it. Next up is that brow stain that I tried and loved. I mean, I recommended it in that video too, but it's still in my top 5, and I wanted to talk about it here again, not just because of how much I love it, but also because since then I've had a chance to try the 2 other brow products I have, and so even compared to these, I still prefer the brow stain over it. So the other 2 products that I got is just more of a traditional brow pencil. It's called the Draw the Line Eyebrow Pencil, and the shade that I got is Brunette, and this is very much more of a typical automatic brow pencil on one end, then you have your spoolie on the other end. Overall, the formula is really nice. It's a waxier texture, which I personally love because it means that it's not only going to fill in my brows, but it's also going to keep them in place throughout the day, kind of working like a pomade, like a 2-in-1 brow filler and pomade, where it just really does a good job at keeping your brows in place, which I will say the brow stain does not do. The problem I have with this is that the formula is so creamy, it just kind of, it fills in my brows, but not in a particularly precise kind of way. Like, you can't really use this to get definite or defined hair structures like you might with this other. I've really been loving the CoverGirl Ultra Fine Brow Pencil because you can get those individual brow hairs, or at least they look like it when you draw them in. This is a little bit more of a mess. It's so creamy that you run it through your brows and it just, there's less control is what I will say about that. So in terms of a brow pencil, not my favorite compared to other things that I have been using and loving lately. Then the other brow product that I tried was the Take a Brow Complete Brow Kit, which actually came as a gift with purchase when I bought online. But it has a wax and 3 different brow powders, and it's not a bad product. It's just, again, not what I prefer to use. I love that there's a wax in here to hold your brows in place, then you can go and fill in with 1 or multiple of 3 different choices in here. It's kind of nice if you want like a darker shade out here and lighter on the tail, or vice versa, however you like to fill in your brows. This certainly gives you more options, but when it comes to my brows, I'm a one and done kind of girl if I can be, and so the fact that I can get the stain and the structure from the pencil or the stain without having to go into multiple products and shades yada yada to get it done, it's why I will go for the stain over the palette any day. Okay, products 3 and 4 I'm going to talk about together because they are both highlighter palettes. One thing that or a few things I guess, that Flower Beauty does really well is highlights, and I really like both of the palettes that I got. First of which is the Galactic Glow Holographic palette, and I gave you my little tip for highlight layering that that video. I also have a separate video dedicated to that technique entirely, so I won't go over it here, but click the eye if you want to see. That is what I love this for, the fact that you can go in with a more normal highlight shade here and then just add a hint, like a pop of color using these iridescent blue and kind of pinky purple shades over here, just to add some interest to your everyday highlight routine. Then the other highlight palette that I'm actually wearing today, because in that last video I hadn't had a chance to try it yet, is this trio. It's the Shimmer and Strobe highlight palette, and it too comes with multiple different shades in here, but they're what I would personally consider more natural looking highlight shades. You get more of a warm golden glow, a soft pink, and then a neutral champagne shimmer over here on the end. You know me and my highlight layering. I am wearing the pink all over my cheekbones, and then I chose to go in with the soft yellow highlight right here in my outer corner, and I just look at that glow. If you want a blinding highlight, this is an amazing palette to reach for. I love it. And the last but the best category is the eyeshadow palette. I have the Shimmer and Shade eyeshadow palette in the shade Golden Natural. As you could probably guess if you didn't see that last video, it is a very neutral, naked-esque feeling palette here. There is a lot of shimmer in here, or like not overt glitter, but like lots of metallic, like borderline metallic shimmery shades in here. Couple of matte shades. I think it could use a bit more, but in terms of like a really good go-to everyday neutral palette, this is totally something that I would find myself reaching for. And it actually comes with a pretty awesome brush, which they do point out on the front of the packaging. It says bonus $6 brush. I don't know that that's, you know, what I would pay for it, but it is like a legit brush that they decided to put in a palette. It's a fluffier brush, so it's great for the crease, but then, you know, not the worst for going in and packing in color across your lids, so that was also nice to see here. But the base, like the heart of the product itself, the shadows, are really, really nice. And like I said before, when I actually decided to try it separately from the eyeshadow base, the shadows themselves, very, very nice, and they certainly function well when worn over tried and true bases that you might have in your collection. So those are my top and bottom products from the Flower Beauty brand. Let me know what you think of videos like these, especially as a follow-up to like a really, really long try-on. I know a lot of you guys like those, but some of you like more condensed and more direct videos, and I get it. There's a time and a mood for both. So let me know what you prefer down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys!